As you probably know by now, leather scraps come from boar, which can be found in the wild and you can go out and hunt them whenever. In fact, you've probably already killed a few because they attacked you. They're like the first threatening thing you encounter in the game. But the next step is obviously some more consistent and stable access to those leather scraps from boar. So you're going to want to tame and breed them yourself. And luckily there is, in my mind, absolutely no time in this game that is too early to start this process. So whatever point in the game you're at, do it. Let's breed some boar right now. Valheim has blown me away with its depth and overall just general amount of fun, but if you found your way here, you're likely as curious as I was about how to find leather scraps a little bit more easily, because they're used in basically every recipe early on that matters or you would care about. And even after you've made all that stuff, you're going to need more leather scraps for all the upgrades, so it's something that's going to come back to haunt you quite often. Alright, so your main goal here is to feed a boar enough delicious Treatos that it no longer wants to attack you. At that point we can talk about breeding, but let's talk about the taming aspect first. This can be accomplished in a couple of different ways. First option is you just find a boar in the wild, sneak up on it in the bushes, and toss berries at it until it loves you. I'm serious, that's it. Alright, but how do we actually accomplish this? As a note, boars are terrified of fire. I know early in the game I just basically had my torch out at all times. It's very comforting, it lights up the area, you just like to have it. It makes you feel a little bit safer in this dangerous, dangerous world of Valheim. But boars hate it, so put it away for this. I mean, unless you're using some kind of fancy terror herding technique, let me know what that is below if you use fire intentionally in your boar trapping and taming and breeding techniques. I would love to hear what this is. Otherwise though, you want to sneak up on them by pressing left stick in if you're playing with a controller, or left control if on a keyboard. Then toss them some berries, mushrooms, carrots, all the kind of foods that you can kind of gather in the general wilderness. They eat them all. I do think you need to stick to veggies and fruits. I don't think they'll eat any meat, boar or otherwise, as cruel as that sounds. I just don't even think it works. Once you decided what food you want to toss at them, to toss food, hold the right trigger and click on an item in your inventory with the controllers to just kind of like toss it in the general direction you're facing, or drag and drop outside the inventory window with your mouse if you're using a keyboard and mouse. Note, you can throw smaller amounts by splitting your stacks of items by shift clicking them and selecting an amount, or holding the left trigger and clicking them if you're using a controller. This is basically it. They'll eventually notice the food, go over and start to eat it. However, if they notice you and start to attack, you kind of just need to run away until they stop chasing you. Obviously, if you beat them or kill them, you got to start from scratch, and it takes a while for them to eat enough to become fully tamed. But if they don't see you or you manage to evade, just keep repeating the steps, sneak up, throw food at them, and if it's working, you'll see little yellow hearts appear over the boar as they eat, but it'll take a while before they're fully tamed. But below 100% tamed, they will still attack you, and this is where we kind of run into our couple of problems. One is the one we mentioned before. They chase you like crazy. They will literally hunt you down to the ends of the wilds. I hate trying to evade boar once they're after you without having like a wall to hop over and kind of get them stuck. And number two, if you succeed, a tamed boar is not going to follow you anywhere. He's just going to kind of hang out where he was, happily, cheerfully tamed in the wild, waiting for more food to be fed to him. Having tame boar out in the wild instead of in some kind of enclosure poses a couple problems. One, it's less likely that they're going to breed with other boar because they have to be kind of near them. There's no way to control where they are if they're just sort of out in the field. Yeah, maybe they encounter another tamed boar and they get at it, but probably they just kind of wander. Number two, they're totally open to any kind of attack. The last thing you want to do is spend, all this time taming this boar, and then immediately something comes up and just like, and just like destroys it. That's kind of sad. You become kind of emotionally attached, you name it, it's dead. Anyways, this is why I preferred the second method. We practiced this a little bit on stream. Speaking of which, if you didn't know, we stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lately, a lot of Valheim, but all sorts of games. So definitely come by, say hi, ask questions about other topics you want to see, and let me know how you've been capturing and taming boar, because I would love to hear of different ways that this is possible. I mean, I think sort of the sky's the limit in terms of your own creativity, but this is what we've been doing. Anyways, approach number two. When you see a boar in the wild, back off a little bit, and start a little crafting process. Make a workbench, cover it in whatever method you prefer. I like the standard 4 walls on like leaving one side open with 2 little roof slats, just enough to keep it covered. And then we start building a fence. Build a fence in an almost complete circle or whatever shape you want, but leave one end open, either by creating a door or a gate and leaving that open, or just leaving the fence itself missing a piece. then go piss off your boar. You don't have to punch it or anything, but just like walk over to it, wait till it's pissed off and following you, and then run back into your little enclosure. As soon as he's in, close off the missing section either by putting the missing fence piece down, closing the door, closing the gate, whatever, and then you can jump out of there. I mean, it's a fence, it's not like super high. You can just leave, and he's stuck. The tricky part is getting 2 or more boar in there, but you can either do this by waiting till one has been tamed, or pissing off 2 boar at once. I have done that. It's not impossible, just like a little annoying. Or you could always build another section of the fence attached to the first section and just do this again, but with another part. Whatever you feel like doing. You gotta get 2 boar in the enclosure at some point. I do kind of like the bubble method though. If you only have 1 boar in the enclosure that you made the first time, and you make sort of a bubble enclosure around it, get the new boar into the bubble, and then break away the piece in the middle so it's just 1 enclosure. That's a pretty solid, nothing can go wrong, but I can't tell you how many times I've tried to get the second boar in and the first boar leaves or something stupid like that. It's kind of a pain, but it's fun. Anyways, once you're in the enclosure, it's way easier to do the sneak feeding process, because you can sneak up, throw some berries or mushrooms, whatever you want, over the edge of the fence. They'll eat it, and if they ever do notice you doing this, like outside the fence, they'll be stuck inside. They'll attack the fence. Be careful, because eventually they will destroy it and escape. But you can kind of just move away until they calm down. If you're playing with other players fresh to the game, you might want to put a sign that says like "taming in progress" next to the boar enclosure. Nothing is worse than somebody coming across it and being like, "Oh my gosh, how convenient that some boar got trapped in this enclosure. I needed a leather scrap or 2," and then they kill your half-tamed boar. Ugh. Anyways, but here comes the best part. If you do this twice with 2 boar, and they are both happy and tamed, there's a chance that they can breed and produce more boar in the enclosure. And this can keep on going and going until you have a ton of boar. Although there is a limit. You reach a point where there's too many boar in the enclosure and it won't happen anymore. So either you can make the enclosure bigger or start culling away certain boar, you know, to gather the leather scraps and meat. Because ultimately you do have to get at, they don't just like hand you meat. You do have to still kill the boar eventually. But always leave at least 2. But yeah, that's it. It's pretty easy. It is a lot of fun. Definitely recommend you try it out. But yeah, like this video if it helps solve your boar taming problem. I was having a ton of trouble until I got to the running back into an enclosure technique, which helped immensely. Or if you just enjoy watching me fumble around trying to wrangle up some of these pissed off piggies. Otherwise, let me know in the comments your favorite tricks for taming and breeding. I would love to know other people's techniques. Do you create like a huge like fenced in section that leads down to a pen later on? Are there advanced techniques I haven't even heard of? I would love to know. Do you leave little buried trails into the pen? I'd love to know if that works. Would they eventually follow? If you do 1 berry at a time, maybe. That'd be kind of funny. I'd love to see somebody succeed at that. Otherwise, subscribe if you want more Valheim tips on building and gathering. I've got those coming up soon. And otherwise, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace. What are you talking about?
That log just split in half. It would have rolled and crushed his whole body again.
Did they split at this size? I thought they just kind of crumbled.
Yeah, they split in the middle.
Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! Watch out!
Which
For timber!
God, damn it!
Jesus Christ!
Can't you see we're trying to build a house here?